So we have gone from the women are a circle, but there's a circle around the pyramid on the dollar because it looks like the sun, and the sun represents Stonehenge. Just gonna move on from that. We're not gonna discuss why. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today's going to be a different kind of video, and I stumbled into this entirely by accident. So if you're not new here, you know that I, Khaki, Reviews Beauty, also have an attraction towards kind of woo-woo stuff. Like, I like to watch astrology content. I like to do yoga. I like to learn about meditation. I might even dabble in a ghost story show from time to time, here and there. And when you watch these kinds of things on the internet, you get advertised to. You get thrown into interest buckets by advertisers. So it's not long in that genre of content before you start seeing ads from a company called Gaia. And the video samples that they were showing that were just like, you know, their maybe top most popular kind of videos, they all seemed kind of bananas to me, and my curiosity just got the best of me, and I thought that I would try this out as my first ever commentary style video. And I just wanted to do a deep dive on one video today and also kind of introduce to you guys what Gaia is. So first of all, what is Gaia TV? It's been Gaia since 2015. I went onto their Wikipedia page to learn a little bit more about them, and it's actually the new name for Gaiam. If you did yoga or anything like that, you know, in the 2000s or maybe like late 90s or whatever, you're familiar with this because prior to the age of YouTube and readily accessible streaming services, Gaiam was a pretty seemingly reputable resource for yoga DVDs, meditation, I think probably DVDs. They sold yoga mats at Target, and I was very interested in how things got so distorted. So apparently they changed hands a few times, been acquired by people and also acquired other networks, and it's all become this streaming service for $11.99 monthly. You can pay less for it annually, not that I recommend it. And the Wikipedia page describes it as a streaming service for videos on yoga, meditation, and fringe science. We go from some very long practiced, extremely harmless things to fringe science. Like, they're all kind of in equal weight with one another in terms of importance, relevancy, and credibility. It's just like, fringe science, oh, okay, cool. That is really what it seemed like when I saw the ads online. And can I tell you guys, it is so much worse than I thought it was going to be. My initial question coming into it, because I do think you should always come into these things with something you want to get answered, right? I wondered, is this harmless or is it potentially harmful? I knew it was going to be some quack science, but I mean, there's problematic and there's problematic. I did want to answer that for myself. That was like the main thing I was going into it with. I do want to say, as far as the programming is concerned, at least on the Wikipedia page, and I don't know if this is maintained by them or not, but the categories have been broken down as astrology, metaphysics, pseudo-archaeology, fringe theories on ongoing archaeological debates that are far from the mainstream. I'm guessing this is someone else's opinion. Gaia's programming ranges from a discussion of Turkey's Göbekli Tepe archaeological site through to theories about aliens building the pyramids on Earth as well as on Mars. So we're into kind of the fun ancient aliens kind of thing, you know, History Channel. Alchemy, an ancient practice of attempting to transmute matter and create elixirs of everlasting life. Mysticism, Kundalini, alternative medicine. We're getting into some coded stuff here. Nutrition, detox, superfoods, wellness industry type stuff. And then just, you know, meditation. Conspiracy theories. Topics covered by Gaia include the assassination of John F. Kennedy, Operation Paperclip, Project MK Ultra, and Big Pharma conspiracy theories. Gaia's programming also discusses topics such as research on psychedelics used as medicine, like that performed by the Johns Hopkins Psychedelic Research Unit, and UFO research, including that by government programs such as the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. So that's just a little taster of what is on this website. If you guys watch this video, decide you want me to do more of this series, Take your pick. Okay, so the video that I have decided to start with today as our first deep dive is called The Secret Life of Symbols with Jordan Maxwell, and it is called The Secrets of the Dollar. When you guys see this, you're gonna think that I scoured this website to try and find the most bananas thing that I could find. I want you to know this was the first video that I clicked on. First of all, who's Jordan Maxwell? Or as they describe him in the video blurb, Jordan Maxwell. Jordan Maxwell is an independent scholar in the field of the occult / religious philosophy. An independent scholar, no one will claim him. He served for 3.5 years as the religion editor of Truth Seeker magazine, America's oldest free thought journal since 1973. So far, we've got some really airtight credentials. His work exploring the hidden foundations of Western religions and secret societies creates enthusiastic responses from audiences all around the world. Again, we have no actual evidence of anything at this point. It's like he says stuff and people are enthusiastic. He has conducted dozens of intensive seminars, hosted his own radio talk shows, guested on more than 600 radio shows, and written, produced, and appeared in numerous television shows and documentaries, including 3 2-hour specials for the CBS TV network, as well as the internationally acclaimed 5-part Ancient Mystery series, all devoted to understanding ancient religions and their pervasive influence on world affairs today. And we're just gonna not close those parentheses. You'll see that's kind of a pattern with our friend Jordan. I want to go to his website, because it's just really important. I'm not going to be over this website anytime soon, jordanmaxwell.com. I'm sorry. I hate to, it's just the first thing that came to my mind. I cannot not think about the Heaven's Gate website that's left over from the old cult. They look so similar. It's kind of impossible to ignore. I would love to see who his host is. Is it GeoCities? Is it Angel Fire? I also do want to note that, like, when I look for the word dollar in order to find this video again, it says Secret Life of Symbols, Secrets of the Dollar is right next to a video called Sweet Potato Breakfast Muffins. There is an absolute menagerie of topics on this website. So as for the video itself, I'm going to play you some clips, and I'm only going to debunk a handful of things here, or even address a few things here, because it is rapid fire nonsense. It's just one continuous shot of him just cut through with stock photos and stock video, and it really feels like they just let the man talk. It really just sounds like the aimless babblings of a man at a party where you were just like, so I heard you do this, or what is it you do for a living? And he just hops topic to topic in a way that, like, even though he is dressed in a nice way and sitting in front of a library wall, you know, his books behind him, and presented as like an authority figure, it becomes very quickly evident that this man is not working from notes. He's just babbling off the top of his head. So we jump right into this United States corporation.
Your physical body is really very important to the corporation called the United States Corporation. That again is why they want you to wear your seat belt.
He has this whole conspiracy theory that is wrapped up in the idea that we couldn't afford to be a nation on our own had we not borrowed from various entities.
So they had to go back to the old days, go back to the British banking cartels who can print money out of nothing. And so the idea was, we'll give you lots of money, but we want your daughter, okay? We want your son.
We want your wife.
And so today we are collateral for the money that was borrowed to keep the corporation going back in the 1870s to the First World War.
Mainly the British, and that all of our debt is held by the Vatican, which is in Italy. So that definitely tracks. But he says that since we borrowed from them and that they hold so much of our debts, that we as citizens are actually the collateral against those loans, and our social security cards are the proof of that.
This dollar bill has value because it is based on your physical body, your flesh and blood body. If you look on the back of your social security card, you will see the numbers on the bottom. The numbers on the bottom, usually in red, represent your blood on the New York Stock Exchange. It represents your physical body. That's why the numbers are in red. Now, when you take the numbers on the Social Security card and put it next to the serial numbers on the dollar bill, you will see it's the same sequence of numbers and letters. And so what it's actually telling you is that there's like whatever the amount is, 24 million or 4 million or $6 million, whatever it is that your body is worth on the New York Stock Exchange, there's that much money out there all over the world in fives and tens and hundreds with your Social Security number on it.
Oh, so they left us a trail of breadcrumbs so that we could figure out their secrets. I'm sure that if that were the case, then they wanted to drop us clues. So I went ahead and looked into this, and actually this is something that is in, like, you know, reply guy comments all over the internet of all these people like, well, I heard from my friend who used to work at the IRS, you know, that kind of stuff. But the real boring answer is that the number on the back of your Social Security card is called a sequential control number, and it is a way for the Federal Reserve Bank to make sure that a little flimsy piece of paper that you have been issued that literally says your name and a number on it is legit, because we basically have that as our means of identifying ourselves throughout every other document in our lives, our Social Security card. And so there's actually like a lot of incentive to fake something like that because it is such a valuable commodity, and so that is their means of making sure that it's legit. Like, that's it. It's an incredibly boring answer. It's not salacious. It wouldn't be up on Gaia, but that's a lot of what this is. It's someone trying to take something that's very unexciting and make it sound exciting because, I don't know, they're bored. The next thing, and I just have to play this for you, okay?
The 33rd President of the United States was Harry Truman. And Truman made an interesting statement. Somebody asked him, is there anything going on in history that we haven't been told? And he said, the only thing that's hidden in history are the facts of life that you don't know. How this country really was founded, and where the money really came from, and who you really are. That you don't know, well, that's the real hidden history of this country. All of this stuff that you think you understand, nobody really understands how this system works.
The absolute conversational tone with which he delivers this line, it completely belies the fact that he is pulling it out of his butt. It is not a direct quote. He has no idea what he's talking about. And even if he did, that doesn't say anything. The only thing that's hidden in history are the facts of life that you don't know. That is, in an Excel document, what we refer to as a circular reference warning. And finally, guys, the coup de grace. This is when he actually gets into talking about the symbols on our dollar bill, because that's kind of what this whole thing is, right? He is trying to trace every single number, symbol, thing that's on our dollar bill to some kind of conspiracy, right? We get to just him starting to count stuff.
The eagle, of course, represents the sun, and of course, on one side, we see that there's 32 feathers in one wing of the eagle and 33 on the other wing. 32 and 33 are Masonic numbers, you know, the 32nd degree and then the 33rd degree. And of course, when you're going into court, they're going to give you the 3rd degree.
What do those have to do with each other?
And so showing that the courts are all Masonic construction to start with. So if you're not a Mason, you need to stay out of court. You better find out what you're doing when you go into court, because they're going to give you the 3rd degree.
You're going to find out what you're doing when you go into court. We're just going to move on from that point. We're just going to move on.
Now, interesting, the word pyramid comes from, it's actually 2 words. A lot of people don't know this. Pyramid is 2 words put together, pyra and mid. Pyra is fire, and mid simply means middle. This is why today, when you go into public buildings like restaurants and hotels, you will see the restrooms for male and female, right? And on the male restrooms all over and in the public will always be a pyramid. It's always a triangle or a pyramid on a male restroom.
No, it's not. It literally isn't. Ever since I watched this the first time, like I've gone to some public places and I'm like, no.
Women's is always a circle on the women's. Why? Because the pyramid is fire in the middle. And so the idea was that the fire of sex is in the middle of the human body. And so the women are also involved with this. They're called the circle of life. They keep the circle of life going. Without the women, there's no children.
There's a pyramid because there's fire in the middle, and then there's because the sex is in the middle. Pyramid, ta-da! And then the circle of life.
You'll see around the pyramid, you will see a circle, and that symbolizes the sun. And that symbolizing the sun has to do with Stonehenge.
So we have gone from the women are a circle, but there's a circle around the pyramid on the dollar because it looks like the sun, and the sun represents Stonehenge. I'm just gonna move on from that. We're not gonna discuss why.
The eagle has always been the symbol for the sun. Why? Because it has an eagle eye. It can see everything, and it's high up. The ancient peoples they saw their eyes were perfectly round, and then they look at the sky and see the sun is perfectly round, and then in their mind the sun represented light, which light means intellectual, spiritual intelligence. You're enlightened instead of being ignorant and ill-informed and in the dark. And so they figured that God must be very bright. He's very brilliant. And so if you follow God, the sun, you're his pupil. And so that's why today we have a pupil in the eye, because the sun is round. And we are his pupil. We're following him.
What does that have to do with anything? They were smart enough to build the pyramids, but they saw two round things and thought they were the same, an eagle's eye and the sun. Okay, so I did want to give you guys the information from the guy who legitimately designed the dollar bill. The seal's design is credited to Charles Thompson, who was a leading merchant in Philadelphia and secretary of the Continental Congress at the time. The olive branches and arrows, he said, denote power of peace and war, which is exclusively vested in Congress. Finally, he said the motto E pluribus unum alludes to the entire nation as a whole. The reverse of the seal features an unfinished pyramid, which is made of 13 rows of building blocks. On the first row are the Roman numerals, representing 1776. At the top of the pyramid is an eye and rays that radiate outward. Above the pyramid is the inscription Annui Coeptis, Latin for Providence has favored our undertakings. Below the pyramid it says Novus Ordo Seclorum, Latin for a new order of the ages. Thompson told Congress he chose a pyramid to symbolize strength and longevity, and that the eye and motto above to allude to many signal interpositions of providence in favor of the American cause. So basically all of the good things and people who had to basically coalesce in the right ways for it to even work. So yeah, those are the absolutely normal and boring facts behind, honestly, what is a very pretty piece of artwork, which is our dollar bill. So he closes on a really lovely note. He says that the dollar was said to be the same dimensions as the Indian magic carpet because, to quote him, you got enough of them, you can go anywhere. Airtight, Jordan Maxwell. I feel like these are the kinds of things that can only exist within the paradigm of something like Gaia, like this paywall protected microcosm, because as soon as you say them out loud in mixed company, they evaporate. It is easy to dismiss these kinds of things as funny. Ghost hunters, ancient aliens, Blair Witch Project, they start to like give us permission to blur the lines of what's real and what's not in a really like fun way, I think. And we don't really care whether something's real because it's kind of like spooky and mysterious and like that's just kind of entertaining, you know? Most people are able to laugh at this kind of thing and move on, but those aren't also the kinds of people who are going and paying $11.99 to pickle themselves in this kind of content. So the danger to me here is not that this is total nonsense. It is total nonsense. But that it is presented not even in the form of a question like, do we really know the truth? Which is the tendency of a lot of kind of conspiracy theory content. It's like, well, I'm not saying that it is, but what if it is, you know, and just kind of planting that seed. This is going one step further and presenting these people, Jordan Maxwell, as authority figures, and actually like how easy it is to make someone look like an authority figure just by dressing them professorially and putting them in front of a wall of book spines. That does insult my intelligence, but I also think that there are plenty of people who would look at that and say, well, that is the exact same context that the Discovery Channel or National Geographic, although National Geographic apparently is not allowed to have any man-made structures in their interview shots. My uncle-in-law taught me that. There was your typical khaki diversion. You thought you were gonna get through a whole video without it. Regardless, it is the same context that we see a lot of like mainstream science shows presented in, like, I'm an expert, this is my office, this is the library of the university that I'm a professor at, or whatever. And it's very clear to me looking at this, like these are all props because this man is famous among the UFO convention circuit, but that isn't necessarily what would translate. Like, if you're not coming at it with a critical eye, which I assume people who like are literally subscribing to this streaming service because they want to learn probably aren't coming at it with a super critical eye. But also, I think that it is dangerous to present the pseudoscience and possible gateways towards radical thinking in the same context of the credible things that aren't making any kind of wild claims, like yoga, which has been extensively studied for centuries as like a pretty darn good practice if you want to stay like, you know, limber and mentally a little bit more at peace. You know, we're not making any wild claims here. And so the fact that it's kind of all presented, that to me is kind of that open question thing of like, you be the judge, you know, what's fact and what's fiction? It's like, no. Yoga is stretching and meditation. Okay, don't present it in the same context as, I don't know, are we being ruled by a new Masonic order that, you know, uses us as chattel for the collateral against our debts to the Vatican? Those are not the same thing, and the fact that they're presented in the same context, like, yeah, sure. YouTube has everything on it, and we don't blame YouTube, okay? We're not, well, I mean, we do sometimes, but we're not saying like, oh, YouTube is this subscription service, and therefore they are being held to account for, you know, the fact versus fiction of every single thing that they allow on their platform. But most of this stuff is either by Gaia, like it'll say a Gaia original, even though it will have this lovely disclaimer on it that's like, we don't agree with any of this. But also, I mean, everything has to be vetted. This is not a public forum where people are able to create content and it goes right up there, like it's curated by this company. And I have to believe that there had to have been some kind of data at some point through social listening to indicate that their audience was maybe interested also in like holistic healing. You know, you go from yoga, it's not a really difficult step to go into holistic healing. And like, oh, okay, well, we've got kind of a wellness audience here. And the wellness to radicalization pipeline has become stronger and stronger and stronger recently. And so even though the content that at least I'm seeing so far might not necessarily be like hammering home the idea that like the president is a lizard person and the earth is flat and that doomsday is upon us, like just because I haven't seen that content doesn't mean it doesn't exist on this platform. As far as I can tell, no one's being like directly recruited to a cult, but it does seem potentially dangerous in the sense that it is creating this fertile ground for people who feel maybe misunderstood or uncatered to or overlooked by like the mainstream medical system, or they have like a chronic illness that they have gotten like a little bit more results using something holistic or meditation or something from than medicines that they took that had a lot of side effects or something. And they're like, well, looks like I can trust my own research more than I can trust the medical community. And so I'm just gonna keep diving down this rabbit hole. Unfortunately, that rabbit hole has been curated as a means of making money and keeping people viewing. And so it's not so much about them really care. It's not at all really about them caring about the wellness of the people who are paying these subscriptions. It's about continuing to feed them content that keeps them subscribed. That to me is the dangerous and nefarious part of it. And also as someone who has been a subscriber, not a, you know, paid subscriber, but I have subscribed to many of the ideas of the wellness industry over the course of my life in attempts to heal my own chronic illnesses. I have psoriasis, for example, things like that. I can definitely identify with the mentality that, like, well, I have been forsaken by, you know, going to enough doctors and no one takes me seriously, X, Y, and Z, that, you know, maybe the solution does exist within me, and maybe there is this whole other world that no one's telling me about, and maybe I just need to go look for the truth myself. But that's the problem, is not that the truth isn't out there. I want to believe. But it's that this, like, platforms like this and pretty much any place that curates this kind of content is not curating the content to ultimately be helpful. It's doing it to ultimately be habit forming, if you will. And I want to, if I can possibly, both debunk these kinds of things if possible and just be sort of like one little tiny voice of reason, but also there are probably a lot of people like me out there who are just as curious about this, and I thought that you might want to know more, because I certainly did. So that is why I made this content today. I hope that you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you want more of this kind of video, mainly about Gaia, but also I would be happy if A, you have watched anything on this streaming service and you're like, girl, you gotta see this. You have not even dove into bananas yet, okay? Get ready for the bananas, like, you know, point me in that direction. But also, if there's anything else kind of wellness-wise that you guys are curious about and want to learn more about, and you want to see me deep dive on it, at least for a laugh, then put that in a comment as well. Thank you guys so much for watching and for hanging out with me today. I love you guys so much, and the Pat McGrath Utopian Dream review collab with Amanda will be up on Wednesday. So back to makeup, don't worry, and that is what I have on my eyes right now, which is why it looks like beautiful, beautiful mud, is because I did the exact same thing that I did when I had the first Pat McGrath palette that I bought, which is I could not make any decisions, so I chose all of the above. Anyway, guys, I love you so much, and I will see you in the next one.